So in this video, I'm going to show you a simple automation that is going to help you automate your lead research. So in this automation, I'm just going to use Gumloop, and we're going to take a lead name and email, and the automation is automatically going to go out and find everything about the company and the lead on LinkedIn, and then populate that information in a CRM automatically. So let me show you a quick demo first, and then I'll walk you through step-by-step how to do it. So this is our Gumloop automation. Everything is running through Gumloop. Now, the trigger is going to be a Slack message. So you can send a Slack message to yourself with just a name and an email address. That's all you're going to need. Then that's going to go into Gumloop, and it's going to populate in our CRM, and we're using, I think it's Attio. So I'm going to run this manually just to show you how it works. So Slack, again, is going to be the trigger. And then we are going to go and extract some data from Slack. It's doing some AI web research. It's scraping some LinkedIn profile information here. And then it's going to write a couple of fields to Attio. And there you can see the lead come into our CRM automatically. So we've got the name here. And again, this is the CEO of Vercel. We've got his email address. So it's pulling these two in from the Slack message itself. And then what the lead researcher is doing is it's going out to LinkedIn and it's pulling in his LinkedIn profile. So if I click there, there's his LinkedIn profile. We've got his job title, CEO at Vercel. It's writing us a lead summary, okay, with the current role, the location, previous company, skills and experience, and some other information here that it's scraping from LinkedIn. It's pulling in the company name, and then it's also pulling in the company industry, all automatically, right? So this is a great way if you're getting leads and you want to kind of populate some key information for it. We can do this directly in Gumloop. So you can see all of the steps that it took over here, and we'll show you how to do it step by step. So let's take a look at the overall flow, and then we can build this out step by step. So again, I'm using Gumloop for the entire thing. We don't need make.com. We don't need relevance AI or N8N. All of this can be done within Gumloop, and it's very user-friendly. So again, our trigger is going to be a Slack message. And I mean, you could change this up if you wanted to, but I just wanted to show an external trigger. So the idea is if you want to start this process to populate your leads in your CRM, you just send a Slack message to yourself with the lead's name and the lead's email address. That's all that we need. Then we're going to use this AI extract data node. So we're going to extract from that message the website URL that it's going to get from the domain name, from the email address, the user's name, and then the email address itself, again, which is from the Slack message. Then we're going to run two AI web research nodes. So one is going to be on the LinkedIn of the user, and then the other one is going to be on the LinkedIn of the company, because we're going to feed that information into these two LinkedIn scrapers that Gumloop has natively. So this one is going to scrape the profile of the individual lead, and then this is going to scrape the information for the company, because we need both in order to populate every bit of information in this demo here. So some of this is individual info, like his LinkedIn profile and his job title. But then, for example, information like the company industry comes from company LinkedIn. So we're using a couple LinkedIn scrapers here. We're doing a little text manipulation over here. And then Gumloop has native integration with Attio. And we're going to, if we need to, create the company first in our database, if we don't already have it. And then it's going to create the content, the contact itself, with all of the information that we're pulling in from LinkedIn and Slack message. All right, so to start, I'm in Gumloop. I'm in my hub here, and we're just going to create a new flow from scratch. Now, again, this starts with a trigger from Slack. So you or someone from your team sending a message into a Slack channel. So I'm going to click add a node over here, and I'm going to search for Slack, And what we want is a message reader. So we want this node to read incoming Slack messages. The first thing we want to do is turn on activate as flow trigger. So this will act as the trigger. Now, if you haven't connected your Slack account yet, obviously you're going to need to do that through Gumloop. It's really easy. Then you're going to want to pick the channel where you will be sending these Slack messages. I've got a Gumloop demo channel here. And then for message information, we just want the message. But as far as our trigger, this is all we need to get started. So the next node that we're going to need here is an extract data AI node. So if I just go back to my node library, you can see it's up here at the top under using AI. So I'm going to select this extract data, and we're going to need this for a couple of reasons. If you think about it, the way that the Slack message is coming through is we have got a name and then we have got an email address. So in order to send that message off to our kind of AI web researcher, we need to give it context and we need to pull out, for example, the domain name and the name of the lead. And we also are going to use this to help inform or input the information into our CRM out here, up here. So we need to take the information from the Slack message and basically break it out into individual pieces of information. So the first bit that I want to extract is the website URL. So I'm going to click add data, and I'm just going to type here website URL. Now, if you think about it, we put Slack, when we go into Slack and put the name and the email address, we're not technically putting in the website URL, but it is part of the email address itself, but we want to extract that individually in order to help create the company name if we don't already have it in here. So going back to extract data, I'm going to type website URL. The type is going to be text, and the description I think I have on my clipboard is the website URL of the email address, only the website URL, meaning I don't want anything else for it to extract. And let me just drag my messages output to my text input here. So that's the first bit of data that we want to extract. Now, the second piece that we want is the name of the lead. So I'm going to click add data again, and we're going to get another field like this. And I'm going to actually call this the user's name. Okay. The type is also going to be text, and then the description, this is just to add more context. So the name of the user or the lead, only the user name. Again, so I just want the name itself, because if you remember from the Slack message, I had put name, colon, and then the user's name. So I don't want that name, colon. I only want the user name. So now we're going to be extracting the website URL and the user's name, and then we're going to need one more. So of course, the last one that we are going to need is the email address, okay? Because again, we're going to be populating this data into our CRM. So I'm going to click add data, and then for this is just email address, and the type is going to be text, and the description is going to be the email address of the user, only the email address. And now you can see after I fill in all three pieces of the data to extract, these are now going to be available as outputs that we can drag into the rest of the automation. And then for the rest of this node, you can include some additional context. This is optional down here. And then you can also choose your AI model. And the great thing about Gumloop is you can bring your own keys here. So you can connect your OpenAI account and it will use your API key. You can connect your Anthropic account and it will use your Anthropic key. So just for this demo, I'm going to do Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And for this node now, we are done. All right, so the next step is I want to go out and find the URL of the company LinkedIn profile, because again, we're going to be writing some information to our CRM that we're going to need to grab from the company LinkedIn profile. So for this, I am going to use the AI web research node from Gumloop. This basically goes out and searches the web using a natural language prompt. It's probably the most powerful node that they have. So I'm going to drag this onto my canvas. And the way that it works is you just give it basically a prompt that you want the AI to find on the internet. So I have mine on my clipboard. So what I'm going to say here is take the domain name provided, and I'm going to use it from the previous node here, and find the company's LinkedIn profile. And then I'm just saying return the URL, LinkedIn profile URL, return the URL. So once you have your prompt, the way that it works is you click this generate input and output, and Gumloop is going to use your prompt as context to then determine what the inputs should be and then determine what the outputs should be. So let me just close this over here. And so you can see based on my prompt, it determined, well, for the input, what I need is the domain name in order to find the LinkedIn. So what I'm going to do from the previous step is from the extract data. Remember, we're going to extract the website URL from the lead. Okay, so I'm going to drag this into domain name like this. And now this web research node will have the context of the domain name. So in the example earlier, it was Vercel. So it's going to basically say, hey, go find the LinkedIn company profile for Vercel.com. All right, so next, I basically want to do the exact same thing, but instead of the company LinkedIn, I want it to find the individual's LinkedIn. So I'm going to do another AI web research node, drag this kind of parallel across from the company one. And again, we need to give it a prompt before it will give us any inputs or any outputs. So for this one, and again, I'm going to generate a lead research as well. So I'm just going to say, take the user's name or the lead's name and the domain name provided and find the individual's LinkedIn profile URL. So we're giving it 2 bits of context, right? The name and the company they work for. Then I'm going to say return the LinkedIn profile URL. We're going to need that during the LinkedIn research, and a lead summary of their experience, skills, and work history. And remember, that lead summary is how we're generating this field over here. So with this prompt done, again, we hit generate inputs and outputs, and now the AI is going to use this prompt as context. This is a really cool part of Gumloop. And so it's going to say, well, hey, give me the user's name and give me the domain name. And again, we're going to have this information from the extract data AI node. So I'm going to grab username and drag it over here. And then I'm going to grab the website URL and drag it to the domain name. And now this web research node will have all of this context, go out and find from LinkedIn the individual's LinkedIn profile URL, and it will generate a lead summary that we can use in the next steps. All right, next we are going to scrape a little info from LinkedIn for the company. Okay, so Gumloop has this really awesome native integration with LinkedIn. So there's no code. So I'm going to go to the node library. I'm going to search for LinkedIn, and this here I want the company profile scraper. So all you have to do is drag that down, and I'm going to put this below this AI web research node, which, by the way, I can rename. So I can just call this company AI web research so I know which one it is. Okay, so what this LinkedIn profile scraper is going to do, it just needs the company LinkedIn URL, which remember, we researched and are scraping in the previous step. So you can see we have this as an output already, LinkedIn profile URL. So I'm just going to drag that as an input. Okay, so now it knows, this node knows which profile URL to scrape. And then the next thing that we need to do is just select which outputs we want from the scraper. So for this demo, I mean, honestly, you could do a lot of things. I'm just going to pick a few here to show you. So we'll do websites, even though technically we already have it. I just want to show you the capabilities here. Industry, but you can get the company size with the year that it was founded, headquarters, all these other pieces of information that you can include in your lead enrichment. But for the purposes of our video today, I'm just going to show the website in the industry. And then, so for our LinkedIn scraper for the company is all set now. All right, now that we have the company profile scrape, the next thing we're going to want to scrape, of course, is the individual LinkedIn profile. So back in the node library, you can see under LinkedIn, we've got the regular profile scraper. So let me drag that over here and close that out. Now, what we need for this node is, of course, the LinkedIn URL, which we ask the web researcher to do. So on the output for this AI web researcher node, and again, I can name this to user AI web research. And I'm going to drag this LinkedIn profile URL over there, and that's going to fill in the URL. And again, you can grab a lot of information available here inside of this scraper, but we only need a few bits of info for our CRM. So I am going to grab the first name, the last name, and the job title. And now we have both of our LinkedIn scraper nodes populating different information, one for the user and one for the company. All right, next we do need to do a little bit of text manipulation, because if you look inside of Attio and you see the name column or the person column, it is first name, last name. But if you look at our flow over here, you can see what from the LinkedIn scraper, what we're extracting here is a first name as its own data output and the last name as its own data output. So it's not combined, but in order to feed this as one field, we need to combine these two outputs, right? So inside of Gumloop, we can use a combine text node. Okay, so I'm gonna just drag this onto my canvas and drag it under this LinkedIn scraper. And all we have to do is the first name I'm going to drag onto input 1, and then the last name I'm going to drag onto input 2. Okay, so I'm bringing in the first and last name. And now, how do I want to format the output? I don't need any text other than first name, last name. So I'm just going to drag this input 1 first, which is first name, and then input 2 right after it. I want that space, so let me do a space and then input 2, so you can see the space is in there. So now when we feed first and last name into the combined text as two separate outputs, we're going to combine them together so it will be one output that we can then feed into the CRM. And by the way, I kind of always forget to mention this. You can test these flows at any time. The reason I generally don't do a lot of it is because it slows down the video. But at any point along your automation, and I do encourage you to do this, if not every step, and maybe every other step, is you can just hit this run button. So when I hit the run button, what it's going to do, it's going to take the last Slack message, because I'm not inputting this with a new message. So it's going to grab the last one. All right. And when you hit run, what's going to happen in Gumloop in the sidebar is it's going to show you every step of your automation. So I can click into see all inputs and outputs. And when I go to messages, it should be there. There it is. So this is the last message in this Slack channel. So this is the input. Okay. All I typed in was name, colon, and then Guillermo's name, email, colon, and then I put it as a linked email, which is interesting. It's coming in as that kind of HTML there. So then I can go to extract data. So you can see every step along the way, right? So the input here, again, it's going to show the Slack message. And now what we're asking it to do is extract the email address. So it nailed that, just the name, it got the name, and then just the website URL. So this is the output from the extract data node. And now what it's going to do is the AI web research nodes are going to use that information to go out and search the internet for what we're asking it to do, which is basically to return all of the LinkedIn information for the user and for the company. So this is how you run and test your flows inside of Gumloop. Again, I'll try to do a better job of this in future videos of testing more frequently to show you guys the flow. It's just that I want to keep these videos pretty snappy and not to slow them down, especially with the web research nodes. You can see they take a couple of minutes. That one just finished up. So I can show you this as well. So it's going to give me the domain and username or the lead name as the input. And then what it's going to output here the URL LinkedIn profile for Guillermo, which that is the correct one. And then the lead summary. So this is where the lead summary is getting pulled in as well. So that's the full run here. So it's got the LinkedIn profile scraper, and so it did run successfully. I don't have the Attio steps in there yet, which makes a lot more sense because we haven't obviously put that step in yet, but it did finish up into the LinkedIn scraper and the combined scraper. So you can see when you're trying to test this, just hit run and you'll see in your sidebar where any errors might be. And again, the great part is you can see all of the inputs and all of the outputs for every single step. All right, so the next part of our flow and the way that it works with Attio, and I hope I'm saying the name of this this CRM correctly, by the way, is at least my understanding, testing it. I'm not a power user by any stretch, but I believe in order to add a contact, at least through this automation, you first need the company to be in your CRM. In other words, if I try to add, let's say, someone from OpenAI using this flow, and I don't have the company in here first, at least when I tested this, it did not work. So what I'm going to add next to our flow, and Gumloop has a native integration, Attio, is a company writer, meaning we're going to create a new company in the CRM if we don't already have it. So I'm going to add company writer to the CRM. And then for inputs, it's actually the company. Again, I tested this a few times. We want to actually select the company domain, not the name. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in an error node, or excuse me, I always call it an error shield. So what this is going to do is basically if the company is already in our CRM, this will error out because we're trying to write a company that already exists. But when you wrap it in an error shield, it's just going to ignore the error and continue with the rest of the flow. So in other words, the error won't stop the rest of the automation from completing. You may get an error because, again, if you're adding leads just left and right inside of Slack, you're not going to want to check to see, oh, do we already have this company in the CRM? That's the point of the error shield here. And now we need the input here, which is the company domain. And again, I mentioned that we kind of did a little duplicative work in the LinkedIn node. I'm going to grab the website URL actually from the extract data node. We could also grab it from the LinkedIn node. I was just showing you that the LinkedIn node, what fields that they had. But there you can see that I'm going to drag website URL from extract data down into the input of the Attio company writer. So now if the company does not exist in the CRM yet, it will first create the company, and then that will allow us to create the lead and map the lead to the company. All right, and now the next node that we need, now that we have the company writer, is we need the Attio writer for the individual, right? Or for the individual read. So the individual lead. So I am going to do a contact writer, which means we're going to add the new contact or add the new lead to our database. Now we are going to map several inputs here to Attio. A couple of these, for example, the lead summary is one that I created as a custom field. So we'll need to pull that in as well. But for the inputs here, first, I'm going to grab the LinkedIn. And again, this is for the user. The job title, we're going to grab company website, the lead summary. Again, that was a custom field that I had created. The company industry we're grabbing for our example. And then we need the name. So it's actually person name. And then we also want the email address. So person email address. All right. And now we have a lot of mapping to do here, right? From the various outputs that we have. So the first thing that I want, again, for our new lead is their LinkedIn URL. So I can grab that actually not from the LinkedIn profile scraper, but from the AI web researcher node that grabbed the LinkedIn profile URL. So I'm going to grab that output over here. Then the second input I need for Attio for our new lead is the job title. That one I can grab from the LinkedIn profile scraper. So you can see the job title over here, the edge, I'm going to drag into the input over here. Then for company, and the way, again, that Attio works here, and every CRM kind of has its little things here, is I'm going to need the URL of the company. So not the name, but the URL. So I'm going to go up to all the way at the top to our extract data where we did extract the website URL. So I'm going to drag that down to company right there. Then for website, I'm just going to grab this from the LinkedIn company profile scraper and drag this over here. Next, I want the lead summary, which came from the AI web researcher node, which is scraping the LinkedIn profile of the lead and just going to generate that lead summary for us. So I'm going to grab that over here. Next, we need the company industry. And again, Gumloop is going to output this from the company profile scraper. So let me map that one. And then for the last two inputs, we need the person name. Now remember, we made this combined text field over here. So I'm going to drag this into person name. And then finally, the last input is going to be the lead email address. And remember, we grabbed that all the way at the top from our extract data node. All right. So I'm going to drag that email address down here like that. And it looks like we have all of the inputs we need now to create this new lead inside of Attio. All right. Now we're ready to test this out. I just realized we have some duplicative input in the Attio writer, but that's okay. I'm going to leave that as is right now. And let's test this with a brand new lead. So let's use Max, who is actually the founder of Gumloop. In this example, he has a LinkedIn page. So for name, I'm going to put in Max. And then for email, his email is public, by the way, otherwise I wouldn't show it. So let's put his email into Gumloop as well. Into Slack. All right, so this is me saying, hey, I've got a new lead. I want my automation to do all of this research on my lead to see if he's a good fit. All I have to put his name and his email into Slack, and I'm going to hit enter. Now, you can see in your Gumloop history, just by going to gumloop.com/history, when your automations are running. So this actually triggered 2 because I have set this up twice. I just tried to cancel this. I don't know if that's going to cause any issues. But if you're trying to view the live run when it is triggered outside of Gumloop, remember this was triggered not by hitting run in Gumloop, it was triggered by Slack. So if you're trying to view like the run history, you can just go to Gumloop/history. You can come in here, you can view your run, and then we can find any errors that we run into and try to troubleshoot any errors if we reach any. But you can see at this point, it has read the Slack message, extracted the data from the message. It apparently wrote the company already into Attio. Now it's doing the web research. So this might take a few minutes. So this is still running, and I just want to come back into my Attio CRM just to show you. Guillermo is the only lead I have right now. I don't have Max in there yet, but the web research is still running. All right, so that web research finished up. It scraped the LinkedIn profile scraper. It's combining the text, and now it's doing the company AI web research. So that is a benefit, by the way. Earlier, I renamed the 2 web research nodes, one to company and one to user. The benefit of that, not only looking on the canvas, is when you're actually running your flow, you can see which one is which. All right, so it said that it wrote the new contact. Let me go back into Attio, and it looks like it did. So I've got Max's name. I've got his email address. Let's see if we have his LinkedIn. There's his LinkedIn, founder at Gumloop. I've got his job title, co-founder and CEO at Gumloop. Here's his lead summary, head of community and education and co-founder at Gumloop. Significant experience in engagement in education. So this is the lead summary. Here's the company, Gumloop, and the company industry is software. development. So that did execute flawlessly. It took a single Slack message with 2 bits of information, went out and did all this work behind the scenes, and then updated my CRM with this lead info automatically. All right, if you guys enjoyed that automation, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And let me know in the comments below what kind of video you want to see next.